Live from New York. It's the show that is a few minutes away from Brew's official Super Bowl pick.
Wow.
And he has been grinding. We told you all week.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, congratulations. You made it, buddy. You made it. Just hold on. It's
great.
first things first today. All right, well, let's kick it off. We start with the moment we've all been waiting for, the Super Bowl of Super Bowl picks. Chris Broussard, who has been on a legacy-defining streak of accurate predictions, dating back to the Warriors, to be honest with you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Has grinded the All-22, consulted experts, and for some reason has been jumping rope. All for this moment. So without further ado, Brew, who wins Super Bowl 58?
Well, look, as you guys saw, it wasn't easy.
No.
I mean, I needed the physical exercise because I was spending hours at that board going over the plays, the Chiefs plays, what Spags might do, what Reed might do, so on and so forth. So I just needed a little physical relief. That's what that was about when I'm spending the night here. And people might think it was easy. You might think it was easy because, look, the Chiefs, I've said all week, and that my 2 weeks of study did not change my mind on the Chiefs should be favored.
Okay.
I'm still shocked that the Niners, not that they don't have a chance, but I was shocked that they're favored. Because, look, the Chiefs have been better in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They got the best quarterback in the world.
Yeah.
They got the best coach, arguably, right now in the world. They've got the defense that has been better than the Niners this year, at least certainly lately. And they've got the experience. Now, but what tripped me up,
what else?
The Niners are not without hope, though. Because the Chiefs play man coverage about as much as anybody. They can go zone. They win some zone against Miami, but they like to play a lot of man. And the Niners are great against man with their, with Kittle and all their weapons, Debo and all those guys. They got a lot of weapons, so they eat up man. Spags loves to blitz. I mean, he devastated the Ravens with the blitz. Guess who's the best quarterback in the league against the blitz?
Don't tell me Purdy.
Yeah, look at that. Yards per pass. This is all against the blitz. Pass TDs, passer rating. He eats up the blitz, and they as a team eat up man coverage. Also, Nick, if it's not a weakness, but the weakest part of the Chiefs defense, I would say, is the run defense, all right? 15 of their 20 games, including the playoffs, they gave up more than 100 yards rushing. So we know that Niners have the best running back in the world. So and the thing about Shanahan, he will not go away. If it's working, he won't go away from it like for some reason Baltimore did. All right, so I took all of that into consideration. And then there's another factor.
There's more?
It's called mojo.
Yeah, this is...
Kyle Shanahan, is he going to fail again? I mean, this is 3 times on the big stage. I mean, including championship
You think he's
games.
on pumpkin alert?
I don't know. I wouldn't say pumpkin alert like you said, but he better win. He needs to win this game. Also, the Niners have been, you could argue they should have lost the last 2 games, but they found a way. And while I think the Chiefs should definitely be the favorite, I know they're not for some reason. We've seen a lot of upsets in Super Bowls.
Okay.
I mean, Tom Brady upset by Nick Foles. Tom Brady upset by Eli Manning. Tom Brady himself, as a first-year starter, upsets Kurt Warner, the greatest show on turf. Gentlemen, please remove the hats.
Oh my gosh!
You're not
My
going to do
pick.
it.
Excited.
You're not
My
going to do it for
pick.
the third straight.
I hate to ruin what would be a wonderful trip to Kansas City next week.
He's not
but
doing
give me the
it.
Niners! Give me the Niners!
I did not see that happening.
I thought, oh my God.
This is objective. Give me the Niners. Yes.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow!
I'm shocked.
I am too. This is going to ruin our Wednesday.
If people think that you got to go against the Chiefs.
No.
I could pick whichever
was
team I
totally
want.
convinced. And I was so convinced Brew was going to pick the Chiefs. That's why we have waited until today for this. Brew obviously had to do all his research.
Yeah.
But I was so convinced you were going to pick the Chiefs. I was like, well, if you pick them on Monday, a lot of the rest of the week of shows is going to feel anticlimactic. This
goodness.
is going to be your worst time going against the Chiefs. Because you picked the Bills to
The
beat them.
last time was pretty bad.
No,
the Ravens.
Well, you picked the Bills to beat them, and that game was close. You picked the Ravens to beat them, and that game, the final score was close, but it didn't feel close. This game, the final score will not be close, and it will not feel close. Wilds, you know my theory on when to put on a winter coat?
Oh yeah, I don't love this
You don't
theory,
love
but
this?
it is a theory.
So it is. I'm a big believer in getting acclimated. I'm a big believer in the winter, I will wait as long as possible to put on a coat. So then when it's actually really cold, the coat actually provides me some warmth, as opposed to I was wearing it when it's 40 degrees out. Kansas City has been getting acclimated to tough postseason opponents, and now they get a breather. Kansas City had to go from Josh Allen to Lamar Jackson, and now they're down to Brock Purdy. This would be like if in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you had King Hippo, then you beat Mike Tyson, and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, before you win, Soda Popinski's coming through. You're like, well, that's easy. I just beat Tyson.
Video game from 20 years ago.
Yeah, 30 years, really closer to 40 years ago, but the audience gets it.
Go ahead.
Kansas City's defense, on the other hand, has just dealt with the Baltimore Ravens defense, the only defense in football that had an argument they were better than the Chiefs this year, and Kansas City found a way to move the football on them. What have the Niners been doing? The Niners have been defensively going up against the Packers. Don't argue with me about it, Wilds. They were a bad defense. Yeah. And the Lions, who were a bad defense. What have they gone against quarterback-wise? And now they're going up against the best defense in football, Kansas City. Quarterback-wise, Jordan Love, who's a good player, but overachieved at the end of the year, first year in the postseason, and Jared Goff, who's a fine player, and now you are going up against someone who is trying to become the greatest player of all time. And this postseason, despite the Chiefs having the far harder path of opponents, how have they done in those games? How have they looked? If we can show it to you, the Chiefs have controlled all 3 games, trailing for just 12% of the time. The Niners have lived from behind. And then I will add one last thing on this note. Brock Purdy this year, when the Niners have lost, has played poorly. And we can show it to you, and what you are going to see against a dominant Chiefs defense that led the league in batted passes, which is a big problem for an undersized quarterback that, as Bruce says, does not have a great offensive line in front of him. You're going to see passes batted down. You're going to see Brandon Ayuk erased by L'Jarius Sneed, because if you can erase Justin Jefferson and the best receiver, Tyreek Hill twice, you can erase Brandon Ayuk. George Kittle and his 40 playoff yards per game doesn't scare anybody. And unless Christian McCaffrey pulls off a Terrell Davis in the 97 Super Bowl, this isn't America. This should be an epic, but it won't be. 31-13 Kansas City.
Wow.
And to be fair, I did not call for a blowout against Baltimore. I called for a 6-point game. And against Buffalo, I said 34-24, and it did 27-24 thanks to a fumble at the goal line. So I have not been calling for blowouts throughout this postseason. I think this is the weakest opponent Kansas City's played since Miami in round 1.
Which is interesting because obviously most of the year they looked like the best team until they struggled, and then Baltimore waxed them, and then Baltimore looked like the best team. 5 weeks ago, it would have been like they would have been a heavier favorite. Now, I don't even think they should be favored, but they would have been a heavier favorite. So, I expect that defense was bad last week or 2 weeks ago, but I think they're going to bounce back. They got some pride.
Okay.
You
are really rolling with the Iowa Mafia, big time.
Are we moving on, Wilds?
Yeah, but I'm going to ask one more question.
Yeah, but good, because I got something as well. But go ahead.
The question is this, Brew.
Wilds is shocked.
I'm
shocked.
Nick, both of you guys are shocked.
I'm shocked.
You're like disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. Well, a few things for the audience. One, the way this show works, to be 100% honest with you, it's a little bit like when you believe in Santa Claus when you're like 11 years old. Mm-hmm. You're like, I kind of have a feeling what's going on here, but I'm going to go along with it. I kind of have an idea of when the banners drop. I kind of, I got a sense of it.
Yeah. Right.
I had no idea this was coming. Zero. The second reason I'm a little bit disappointed is because I feel like you know better.
Yeah.
Oh.
I do.
In your decades of journalism, there's a certain tenet that belongs right up there next to the phrase that I coined, defense wins championships. Yeah. And that's don't bet against greatness. And however good you think Brock Purdy is, we know that there is one guy who is undebatably great. And to pick against him,
great.
Yes, in the Super Bowl seems like it goes against years and decades of experience.
Lost before. LeBron is objectively great, and he's lost
Brady.
6 times.
He lost to Tom Brady.
I'm just saying. LeBron is lost.
I did
and
not.
He lost to Nick
I
Foles.
didn't have Brew. Please don't dusty the board. I didn't.
No.
Here's the problem with you surprising me, Brew. I don't, because we already had to eliminate you
I figured I'm already on the board.
Yeah.
How can I get on the board
But
again?
I remember when I put that on there and I told you could pick, do you want that one or Cowboy Brew? Well, Cowboy Brew was still in my drawer. And it's the only way to manage to put you on the board. So I'm going to have to find a spot for you right here. We'll put you right next to Dapper Brew and Cowboy Brew, and you could be double eliminated. I didn't want to do it, and I'm sorry to put Cowboy. I know you don't love the picture. I didn't see that one coming.
What a Monday, though. What a Monday we're going to have.
I'm glad I shocked y'all.
We're going to have red balloons for somebody. All right, moving on. Mahomes, favored to win his third MVP. His performance in past Super Bowls, ring number 1, 62% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, comeback victory over Jimmy G. Appearance number 2, Brady and the Bucs ran for his life. Then last year, 3 touchdowns, but under 200 yards, won his second MVP. So, Nick, 2 wins, but still feels like there's more there. You can really see that have the full Mahomes experience. Are you expecting a Mahomes masterpiece?
Yes. Underrated game of last year when he won league MVP, maybe his best game of the year, was against this San Francisco defense, which while it didn't have Chase Young, who cares, it did have Hufanga, who's outstanding. And I understand they've changed out defensive linemen, but it's still the main core of the defense. And I would argue they had an even better, and I like Wilkes, but an even better defensive coordinator with D'Amico. And all Mahomes did was the Chiefs scored 44. He threw for 420 yards. He had a 130 rating. And as you alluded to, we can show you Mahomes' postseason career ranks, and he is, of course, first in everything. But there is one thing missing. So if you show him his touchdown interception ratio and passer rating by round, what sticks out is the Super Bowls are not like the others. Now, he was named the most valuable player of 2 of them, but the numbers aren't quite there. And in a game where he can stand alone and third all-time postseason victories, just 1 win, if we can show that, behind Joe Montana for his career if he wins this weekend, there is an element of Mahomes painting his masterpiece within the year he was most doubted, with the worst weapons, with the most adversity, having his first ever great start to finish Super Bowl. And we are in Friday before the Super Bowl, Brew, and we have not mentioned this stat once, which is, where is this game? In a dome. So Patrick Mahomes, as it turns out, has never lost in a dome. And in fact, 330 yards, averages a 13-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. If the conditions are perfect, so is he. So for all of those reasons, and because of what's at stake, locking in the dynasty, the first back-to-back in 20 years, having it simply be him and Brady for the rest of time. I think Mahomes is going to play the best game he has played all year and the best Super Bowl he's ever played.
Yeah, because he's had few masterpieces, if any, this year. Now, you could say some of these playoff games he was great, but, he didn't throw for his typical numbers and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm saying no, because if he has a masterpiece,
you're in trouble.
I'm going to be wrong. I think that Nick Bosa, he needs a big game, and I think he'll have one. He's going to be going against Jawan Taylor. And I think he's going to be able to. They only got 2 sets. Well, hopefully he'll be called for those holds if he does it. And then I think Hargrave too, Javon Hargrave. I don't know if Tooney is playing. We don't know yet.
Probably not.
Right. So I thought the backup had a little bit of trouble against Baltimore on some run plays where he didn't clear out. And so I think Hargrave could have a big game against the backup center. They got to get pressure on Mahomes. Yeah, they got to. Yeah, my bad. They got to get pressure on Mahomes. And no, I don't think he's going to have a huge game. Like you saw, he has yet to have. He's been great in the Super Bowls as far as winning MVPs and comebacks, but he hasn't had a typical
monster
Mahomes day
stat
yet.
game.
Yes, in the Super Bowl.
All right, check in on Brock, who led the league in passer rating, of course, and has had a few comebacks of late. I know you think that was a bad stat. I actually thought that was actually pretty good.
What?
That they've been trailing so much in the playoffs.
Okay.
I thought that was a
I think it's better to have
The
played poorly
mojo,
than
that's what
play
I'm talking
well.
about. The
Yeah, a little
mojo.
bit of
So
momentum.
can I just ask you a real quick question on that? If they had led every minute of every game, you think that would be bad?
No, but I think you would say that he hadn't faced adversity. Right?
Okay. All right.
Here's the best games against. Oh no, I'm sorry. Here's Brock first. Take a listen. Okay, so here are the best games against the Chiefs defense, and I don't know if you're calling any of these necessarily an A. Maybe some solid B pluses there. It's Goff, Cousins. Man, what could have been, huh? And Jordan Love. Everybody else
3 games
passing under 200 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 turnovers with a passer rating around 78.
And shout out Kirk Cousins, who tore his Achilles, stayed quiet about it, and then danced on stage yesterday at the ESPYs, which was maybe the most impressive thing I've seen from an Achilles patient.
And his was a lot later.
This is pretty good, but go ahead. Sorry.
Brew, you had a hole in one, though? Brew, are you expecting an A game out of Brock?
They need an A game out of Brock, yes. I think so. I'm not saying
This is the least base.
A plus.
The base on
no,
that was
I'm not saying an A plus game.
You are shook.
A plus.
Oh,
No,
my
I'm not
goodness.
shook.
Brew has
I'm not-
buyer's remorse
No,
already.
no. I just
Another one
told
he's
you how.
printed.
I told you how he handles the blitz.
on the
Just
back.
saying.
I told you how he handles the blitz. I told you how they handle man coverage.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, and also Spags gives quarterbacks fits with his disguises.
Yeah.
Purdy is one of the quickest. That's one of his strengths. Quick processor. All right, so I think he will be able to recognize when they disguise and then switch out of it after the snap.
Sure.
He will recognize that and go to the right man. So I'm expecting a clean game, maybe one turnover at the max, and clean game otherwise.
Okay.
And
Wait.
maybe not 300 yards, but
Hold on.
multiple touchdowns.
Did you
Yes.
say one turnover but a clean game?
No, I said besides that. Besides maybe one turnover. I know one turnover is not
You
clean.
sound
but
like a
I'm
B
saying
game.
Maybe
Yeah,
one.
that's like a B game.
No, look,
2 touchdowns, a turnover,
if he wins
250.
and is it horrible? I
Okay.
mean, they can't win without him being horrible. But if he wins and plays fairly
B
well, that's
game,
A
he gets an A.
No, I'm saying he's gonna get in play an A game.
Okay, so this
I'm
is
telling you.
Okay, all
this
right,
is sometimes Brew says things, and I say, "Man, you went first, and you said exactly what I was gonna say." This is one of those times where it's not exactly that, but it might as well have been, because my first thing I had jotted down was, well, is he going to be graded on a real scale or some weird Brock Purdy curve? And it sounds like what Brew is saying is, if he wins and doesn't have a total disaster, he gets an A, which
Well,
is not how we've done
he
grades
gets a Super Bowl
on
ring.
this show. Right, I understand, but that's not what we're asking here. So here's the thing. It's a 0% chance he has an A game. It's not 0% the Niners win, but the Niners, coaches, fans, players, media, everyone knows that If they are going to win, it's going to be because of this guy on the board and not this guy. It is going to be because Christian McCaffrey has a monster game. And so here's the deal. We have not seen Brock Purdy against this Chiefs defense except for very limited last year and when they were blowing out the Niners and he came in and threw a pick, but it didn't matter. He was one of some of his first action. So the Chiefs finished number 2 in yards, number 2 in points. Number 1 in yards was Cleveland, 2 Kansas City. Number 1 in points was Baltimore, 2 Kansas City. How did Brock Purdy look against Cleveland and Baltimore? Now, we can show it to you. Now, I understand against Cleveland there was a light mist, and you don't have to deal with that.
It was a thunderstorm.
Okay, well, against Baltimore is perfect conditions, and he threw 4 interceptions. And that was a game that even Brew, I think after the game, was like, okay, fine, he's not the league MVP.
Yeah.
And since then, he's yet to play a great game start to finish. Not a single one.
The next game was
he was fine,
good, right.
and then in the playoffs he has been bad and then good, bad and then good. And so, no, against this, people think Monday is going to be a coronation, if you believe the Chiefs are going to win, a coronation of Mahomes, and sure, maybe. But you know the other thing that's going to happen Monday, and this is one of those things, Wilds, when you're going to have to remind me, Nick, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, you're not supposed to be angry. You know what's going to be on a lot of television Monday morning and afternoon? Wow, that Chiefs defense, who knew? When the answer was anyone paying attention. And so this Chiefs defense with Steve Spagnuolo, who by Wild's count is about to join Chuck Noll, 4-time Super Bowl champion, because the coordinating rings count the same as the head coaching rings, a Hall of Famer, is going to put Purdy in the blender for 3.5 hours on Sunday.
Okay.
I'm just going to be humble and wait.
It's a great pick by you. It's a great way to show. If we knew this, we would have done it on Monday and had a lot more content.
You thought I was picking
Yes.
the Chiefs?
Yeah,
you thought that.
that's why we're dragging it out.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.